Imagine soaring high above the endless blue, a creature of myth and majesty, the master of the skies. This is the world of the pterosaur, a magnificent flying reptile that ruled the air 66 million years ago. With a wingspan that could rival a small airplane, these giants glided on thermal updrafts, their shadows dancing over the vast, ancient oceans. They were the undisputed kings of the prehistoric firmament, a testament to nature's incredible power of creation. Our story begins with one such giant, a Quetzalcoatlus, perhaps one of the largest flying animals ever to exist. Let's call him Sky King. His home was the sky, his domain the wind. For years he had traced the patterns of the air currents, navigated by the sun and stars, and hunted the fish that schooled in the shallow seas below. His life was a symphony of effortless flight, a dance between gravity and the lift of his enormous, leathery wings. He knew the sky better than any creature on earth. He understood its moods, its tempers, its gentle whispers, and its furious roars. The air was his ally, his playground, his entire world. On this particular day, Sky King was gliding over what would one day become the Gulf of Mexico. The sun was warm on his back, the air currents familiar and comforting. Below him, the turquoise water teemed with life. Plesiosaurs with their long, graceful necks hunted in the depths, while schools of fish glittered like scattered jewels near the surface. The world was as it had always been, a vibrant, thriving paradise under a serene blue sky. Sky King felt the familiar pang of hunger and began to circle, his keen eyes scanning the water for the telltale shimmer of a meal. But then something changed. It started subtly, a strange vibration in the air, a wrongness that prickled at his primal instincts. The warm, steady updraft he was riding began to feel turbulent, hotter, unpredictable. Sky King was a master of the air, yet this was a language he did not understand. He tilted his wings, trying to find a stable current, but the air itself seemed to be twisting, writhing with an unseen energy. He let out a low, guttural call, a sound of confusion that was lost in the vastness of the sky. Suddenly, a light bloomed on the horizon. It was not the gentle orange of sunrise or the fiery red of sunset. This was a flash of pure, blinding white, brighter than 1,000 suns, that seared itself onto the world. It exploded silently beyond the curve of the earth, a terrible, beautiful flower of destruction. For a brief, eternal moment, the world was bathed in this impossible light. Sky King, high above the ocean, was one of the first witnesses to the end of his era. Seconds later, the shockwave hit. It wasn't just wind. It was a physical wall of force, a wave of compressed air that traveled faster than sound. The wave slammed into Sky King, tossing him through the sky like a leaf in a hurricane. His massive wings, which had commanded the air for so long, were now useless against this invisible onslaught. He tumbled end over end, his body battered, his senses overwhelmed. He screeched, a sound of pure terror and disbelief, as the sky he had always trusted turned into a violent, chaotic enemy. With a monumental effort of will and muscle, he managed to regain some semblance of control. He flapped his wings frantically, fighting to stay airborne, to find some pocket of stable air, but there was none. Below him, the world was in chaos. The ocean, once a placid blue sheet, bulged upwards in a terrifying, unnatural dome as if a colossal fist had punched it from beneath. The impact of the asteroid, hundreds of miles away, had sent a seismic shock wave through the planet's crust, displacing an unimaginable volume of water. The sea then recoiled. Currents, once predictable, now twisted into monstrous whirlpools. Giant waves, hundreds of feet high, began to race outwards from the point of impact. Fish, plesiosaurs, and all manner of sea life were tossed about, their world turned into a churning cauldron of death. The very ground beneath the ocean was groaning, shifting, breaking apart. Sky King, fighting for his life in the sky, could only watch in horror. The air grew thick with debris, superheated dust and rock thrown thousands of miles into the atmosphere by the impact. It began to rain not water, but molten glass and burning rock. These tiny, fiery projectiles pelted Sky King's leathery wings, searing his skin, each impact a small agony. The air he was breathing became scorching hot, burning his lungs with every desperate gasp. This was no longer a storm. A storm is a part of nature, a cycle. This was an unmaking. The rules of the world had been broken. The sky, his sanctuary, had become a furnace. The sea, his hunting ground, had become a boiling abyss. He flapped harder and harder, his powerful muscles screaming in protest. He was flying blind, disoriented, driven by the simple, primal instinct to escape. But where could he go? The entire world was ending. He was not alone in his terror. Below, on the landmasses, the dinosaurs looked up. The Triceratops, the Ankylosaurs, even the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex paused their daily routines of grazing and hunting. They saw the sky turn from blue to a terrifying, permanent twilight, lit only by the incandescent glow of re-entering debris. They felt the ground shake so violently it was impossible to stand. The forest, their home, began to ignite, spontaneous fires erupting everywhere as the heat pulse from the impact swept across the continent. Back in the sky, Sky King's strength was failing, his wings were torn and burned. His body was bruised from the initial shockwave. The air was a toxic, superheated soup that offered no lift, only pain. For the first time in his life, this magnificent creature, this king of the air, could not fly. He began to fall. As he spiraled down from the heavens, his journey was a tragic survey of the apocalypse. He saw the coastline being obliterated by the mega tsunami, a wall of water 1,000 feet high erasing everything in its path. He saw the forest burning, a funeral pyre for an entire ecosystem. He saw the creatures of his world, the great and the small, consumed by fire, flood, and fury. The sounds were a symphony of destruction, the roar of the tsunami, the crackle of a world on fire, the terrified cries of countless animals. His final descent was slow, a graceful fall from a world that no longer had a place for him. He had spent his life riding the currents, mastering the winds, living in the embrace of the sky. Now that same sky was casting him out. He saw the churning, boiling water rushing up to meet him. There was no more screeching, no more struggle. There was only a profound, world-ending silence in his mind as he accepted his fate. Sky King hit the water. The master of the air was consumed by the raging sea. His story and the story of his kind ended in that moment of cosmic violence. He was just one of countless trillions of lives extinguished in one of the most catastrophic events in our planet's history. The Chicxulub impact didn't just kill the dinosaurs. It reset the course of life on Earth. In the days, weeks, and years that followed, the world was a dark, cold place. The sun was blocked out by a thick blanket of dust and soot, plunging the planet into a nuclear winter. Plants died. Herbivores starved, and the carnivores that fed on them soon followed. The age of reptiles, which had lasted for more than 150 million years, was over. But life, as it always does, found a way. From the ashes of that global catastrophe, new forms of life emerged. In the shadows, small, furry creatures that had survived the apocalypse began to thrive. Our distant mammalian ancestors. The fall of the dinosaurs, the final, tragic flight of creatures like our Sky King, cleared the stage for the rise of mammals, and eventually, for us. So when you look up at the sky, think of the pterosaurs. Think of these magnificent kings of the air, who soared where we now fly in our metal birds. Their story is a powerful reminder of the fragility of life and the immense, unpredictable power of the cosmos. Their final flight was not just an ending, but a violent, spectacular, and necessary beginning for the world we know today.